Our studio in Georgetown.
Kaieteur Radio, 99.1 FM.
Good evening and welcome to this evening's newscast right here on Kaieteur Radio. I am Kevin Smith. Let's get to the news in detail. Chairman of the Ethnic Relations Commission, Reverend John Smith, along with commissioners and other staffers on Thursday, September 17th, 2020, visited the grieving families of the Henry cousins, Isaiah and Joel, and Harish Singh. The ERC team offered words of comfort to the parents and guardians of the slain youths. According to a release from the ERC, the team visited the families who were still overwhelmed by complete sadness as parents and relatives repeated their call for justice to be served. The ERC team noted that the murdered teens all lived a short distance away from each other in the closely knit community. In other news, in spite of receiving critical advice from regional and international actors on the many ways it could secure maximum value for Guyanese in a Stabroek Block production sharing agreement, the APNU-AFC regime, driven by other intentions, chose to do otherwise. The consequence is that Guyana left approximately $55 billion more on the negotiation table. Even after this became known, there were numerous calls to renegotiate the lopsided deal, but the coalition refused to correct its actions. Now that the PPPC regime is in place, international, regional, and local stakeholders are hopeful that the new government would honor its campaign promise to secure maximum benefits from the oil sector. Specifically reiterating this appeal in his most recent commentary was Dr. Jerry Jailal. The education consultant at the North Carolina State Department of Public Instruction in the U.S. insists that the PPPC administration must not walk the same reckless path as the coalition by failing to renegotiate the unfavorable deal. In other news, the APNU-AFC coalition is now challenging the PPPC administration to set local content targets for the oil and gas sector, something it refused to do while in office. The suggestion was made by AFC's MP David Patterson during his budget address last Thursday. Patterson, who is expected to serve the term as the opposition's shadow oil minister, noted that the government has committed to training Guyanese to take up jobs and contracts in the oil sector. Patterson may have forgotten or is unaware of the fact that it was recommended that the Energy Department set local content targets while the APNU-AFC held office. And moving on, just one day after we broke news of a scam at the state-run asphalt plant at Garden of Eden on the east bank of Demerara, Public Works Minister Juan Edgell ordered a probe into the allegations. Well-placed sources revealed that contractors working on government projects were up to recently mandated to take their asphalt from the Garden of Eden plant. We were told by a number of persons that contractors would get asphalt at huge discounts under a scam that stretched all the way to the Ministry of Public Works. It would mean that the state would have lost tens of millions of dollars in revenues. Already, operators of privately run asphalt plants have been complaining of little or no business. Let's tell you now that on Monday, President Irfan Ali toured the troubled multi-billion-dollar expansion of the Chedi Jagan International Airport. However, it appeared that there were several parts of the airport where the president was not taken. We have accessed photos taken in the departure terminal, an area that was supposed to be torn down or evacuated, not far from where persons would check in. It was not a pretty sight. A wall separates it from the refurbished check-in area. It reportedly houses office spaces that are rented to airport operators for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Wires protruded and it was clear that work is still ongoing. China Harbor Engineering Company, the Chinese contractor in charge of the project, has been hauled in with the president announcing on Monday that an investigation will be coming. Ali also insisted that Guyana will not be accepting the project as is, and there must be answers given in who reduced the scope of works. Let's tell you now that countries should not wait for a COVID-19 vaccine to be developed before they start planning and preparing for its arrival. Pan American Health Organization Director Carissa Etienne said yesterday. In the meantime, they must also continue other recommended public health measures to contain the virus. This is according to a release issued by PAHO. In that release, Dr. Etienne said frontline health workers, first responders, and those caring for the elderly should be vaccinated first, followed by vulnerable groups such as adults and pre-existing conditions, especially those over 65 years of age. And moving on, the new management of Guyana's biggest gold mining operations has denied that it is bringing in more than 200 Chinese workers. The company also denied it has sidelined locals and will be utilizing the service of the Chinese contractor here to move mining materials and be part of the operations. The issue was reported by us over the weekend. The Private Sector Commission, a business body, wrote President Irfan Ali over the weekend asking that he intervene. Aurora Gold Mine was taken over by Chinese-owned Jijin Mining Group company last month. It was started up by a Canadian company, Guyana Goldfields Inc., with commercial production started in 2016. According to the letter from the PSC to the President, AGM has applied to bring in over 200 Chinese workers for that Region 7 mine, the biggest gold mining operations in Guyana. And moving on, Minister of Natural Resources Vikram Bharat says a petroleum task force will soon be set up and will explore the possibilities of bringing natural gas to shore as the administration advances its plans to diversify and expand power supply. The task force will comprise members from key agencies. The cost of consultations and logistics of the group has been allocated in the budget. And that brings us to the end of this evening's newscast. I am Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise